Today, we live in the fast-paced world of crypto millionaires, flashy Instagram accounts, and online posers, all appealing to those that are looking for instant gratification. But I'm here to tell you that all that glitter ain't gold. The only way to have consistent success is to roll up your sleeves, stop procrastinating, and get to work. Today, we're going to dive into the world of high performers and what sets them apart from the average Joe. Hey House Stackers, welcome to episode 29 of the Stacking Houses podcast, where we're helping working professionals create a solid plan B, a side hustle of passive streams of income through real estate investing. I'm your host, Damon Santa Maria, and my goal for each show is to provide you with some practical and inspiring information so that you can create a solid financial plan for yourself. So to help you on your journey, I want to give you our beginner's guide to getting started in real estate, which outlines all of the key steps that investors need to take in order to acquire your first property. And you can pick this up simply by going to stackinghouses.com/beginner, all lowercase. And while you're there, you can check out our blog, my free book, as well as a great training on where Jim and I are finding awesome deals in today's landscape. So as I mentioned in the intro, we live in a much different world than when I was growing up, and I'm going to date myself, but I grew up in the 70s and the early 80s, and I was fortunate to have parents that instilled the value of hard work. And I can remember growing up in Cleveland and walking throughout the neighborhood on cold, snowy winter days, asking our neighbors if I could shovel their sidewalk for $20. I also had a leaf blowing business that made me thousands of dollars as a 12-year-old kid. So I learned early on that if I wanted something, I was going to have to pay for it myself. Of course, at the time, I thought my parents were being a bit too harsh, not understanding that they were teaching me the value of hard work. After all, many of my friends' parents practically gave them everything. But one side effect of all this hard work was an increase in my self-esteem and my self-confidence. Not only did I feel great walking home with a pocket full of money, but it also taught me the people skills and the ability to sell myself and my services for money. It got me out of the house and in front of strangers with my hand out looking to earn some money. This is a skill that we don't often see too much in today's youth. Hard work seems to be out of favor these days. And yes, of course, I see the occasional Girl Scout selling cookies in front of the Home Depot, and I applaud some of the parents teaching their kids to not let anyone walk by without asking them if they'd like to buy some cookies. Most times I'll head back to my car, grab a $20 bill, and load up on cookies. In fact, one time, all I had was a crisp $100 bill that I got from collecting rent down the street, and I bought 4 boxes of cookies, and I told them to keep the change. Keep the change, you filthy animal. But you should have seen the look on these kids' faces. They were astounded that I practically gave them an $80 tip. So I think developing a strong self-esteem are the building blocks in order to be a high-performance achiever. So what are the other attributes of high achievers, you ask? Well, I think that those that are hungry for a better life, similar to what we saw early in our country's history, all of the immigrants that came from far and wide, all for the chance of a greater opportunity. This is where we saw great advancement in our early country's history. There was a sense of growth through pain mentality. Many working 12 to 14-hour days of hard labor, all so that their children would have it better than they did. Now, this does still exist in today's culture. I'm not a complete naysayer, but instead of plowing fields and building railroads, there are the great technological icons, people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and, of course, Elon Musk. They're not necessarily breaking their backs, but they did and do still have that winning attitude and live up to the true potential that God gave them type of mentality. These are the high achievers of today. In fact, Steve Jobs was once quoted by saying, "I'm convinced that about half of what separates successful entrepreneurs from non-successful ones is pure perseverance." So let's pause here and talk about perseverance as it pertains to real estate investing. When I talk to newer investors or I look at some of the forums on BiggerPockets, there seems to be this main challenge of finding the perfect rental property. Everyone wants the best house with the best numbers in the best location. They want a complete turnkey property without having to do much work. But I'm here to tell you that the fact of the matter is that just about every deal that I've ever bought had some kind of wrinkle in it that I had to work through. Either it needed a light rehab, or there was a title issue, or something came back on the home inspection report. And in each situation, I had to persevere in order to close the deal. I didn't just give up and say, "Oh, well, maybe next time." Real estate is a game of problem solving. And if you're going to continue in this business, you're going to need to get creative and stop making excuses. And I know this sounds harsh, but many people are just not cut out for this business. But the bottom line is that if you don't ever overcome adversity and challenges, you won't ever build that muscle strength needed to obtain self-satisfaction and peace of mind. And I know I'm going to piss a lot of people off here, including the 3 people that are listening to the podcast, but I'm going to say it anyway. Many folks are just not willing to make sacrifices in order to be successful. They're not willing to work nights or weekends or get educated and look at deals. They're not willing to work through the challenges of acquiring a property and all of the emotional ups and downs of the buying process. In order to be successful, I had to stop partying, I had to stop going out on weekends, and I had to get really serious about what was important to me in order to build my business. I had to save a great portion of my income for investing, and this meant, daily sacrifices like driving a 10-year-old car and not buying all that useless-ish that I didn't need it. But I had to get out of my comfort zone and start networking to build my professional team. I had to learn accounting since I had failed it in college, and I also had to understand tax law and create asset protection for my business. Now, none of this was easy, and it won't be easy for you either. Heck, there's a lot of folks that will spend hundreds of dollars on a new PlayStation or a Nintendo Switch, but they won't spend that same amount of money on their own education or, finding a mentor. And these same people will spend $100,000 on getting a useless degree, but they won't spend the same amount on buying assets that will pay them the rest of their lives. So I can recall when I was in sales for the various health companies that I worked for, and I would go to these healthcare conferences, and 80% of the room was filled with salespeople, aka vendors, and the other 20% were healthcare providers. And all of the salespeople, I would laugh. They would stand in line waiting to hump the leg of the hospital CFO with the off chance that maybe they would buy something from them. And after years of this nonsense, I couldn't take it. I had enough. I could not see myself doing the same thing over and over, year after year. And most of the people that were there were just there for the happy hour drinks anyways. And as I look back on some of the careers of these salespeople, they end up job hopping every 2 years because it's very difficult to make quota. Why would I continue to invest my time and my effort into this without having anything to show for at the end of the day? So I had to make a change. I had to do something different, or else I would get the same old results, which are no career, no assets, and stuck making money for other companies. I had to get out of my comfort zone, put on my big boy pants, and learn a new skill. And it's been a lot of work. But at the end of the day, I have so much more self-worth and net worth than I would have ever achieved if I had stayed in that old job and in my old comfort zone. So now I've pissed off the 3 listeners, and I'm talking to myself. But for those that have made it through my incoherent rambling, I hope that you truly find your passion. I hope that you don't procrastinate any longer. And I hope that 2022 is an awesome year filled with challenges, because this is how we grow. So if you are serious about investing in yourself and becoming a professional, I highly encourage you to sign up for Stacking Houses Academy, where you can learn the step-by-step process that Jim and I took to each grow our multi-million-dollar businesses. And here's the best part. Today, through the end of the year, we're having a holiday sale where you can get Stacking Houses Academy for 50% off the retail price of $997, which is $497. So no more excuses, no more procrastinating, because Jim and I really want you to go into the new year ready to make a real impact on your net worth. So check that out at stackinghouses.com. And again, as I say at the end of all of our podcasts, if you like what you heard today, most likely you didn't, but if you liked what you heard today, I would appreciate a like, a share, or review on the platform that you're listening on, because it really does help some of us little guys that are just getting started on our podcasting journey, and it also helps other house stackers find our great content. And in closing, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I want to give you our beginner's guide to getting started in real estate, which outlines all the key steps that investors need to take to acquire your first property, your second property, your third property. And you can pick this up for free by simply going to stackinghouses.com/beginner. So until next time, happy investing, my friends.